We do have some breaking news. One of the longtime traditions of the Indianapolis 500 has died. We're talking about Jim Nabors, the death of Jim Nabors today, and we have our sports director, Dave Calabro, on the phone to talk to this. Dave, you have been a friend of Jim Nabors for so long. You've traveled to Hawaii. How did you learn the news? What do you know at this point?
Well, Scott, I'm just reacting. I'm heartbroken right now. Just lost a great friend and a legend at the Indy 500. I was on the phone with Stan, Jim's longtime partner. I just talked to him about 10 minutes ago from Diamond Head, Hawaii, where he said that friends and family are sitting around chatting about Jim. He passed away last night peacefully at his home. He's been having some health issues over the past couple of years, and so he said he went peacefully last night. But Jim Nabors, we can confirm, has just died last night. And, yeah, Scott, I'm heartbroken, man. I spent a lot of time with him, been in his house several times, and shared a lot of laughs. The guy lived with joy and had peace, moved to Hawaii because he had asthma issues years ago, and that became his home. But he always loved coming back for that annual singing of Back Home Again in Indiana. Jim Nabors has passed away, we can confirm.
Yeah, we are watching some of the video from one of Jim Nabors' past performances out at the track. Because you knew him so well, Dave, and because you spent time not only at the track with him at Hawaii, help us understand a little bit more about what made Jim Nabors so special to the month of May.
Well, he was just a common guy. He never put on airs. He was just approachable. He loved people. He loved to meet the fans. He didn't care who you were, what you were. He just loved people, and he loved to have conversations. He loved to chat. That's what he loved about the Speedway. It was like a second family to him. So he would come out, whether he was hanging with the race car drivers or the big shot owners or other celebrities. He just loved to be a part of the scene. He always wanted to just be in the middle of everything, and he's very knowledgeable about racing. But he fell in love with Indiana. This became his second home, you know. And, of course, he and Florence Henderson came here in the 70s, and this became, his place. In fact, he told me he was sitting in the stands one day, and they came up to him and asked him if somebody would, if he would sing, and he thought he was going to sing God Bless America. And they said, no, you want to sing Back Home Again in Indiana. And he's like, well, what song is that? So he got with the Purdue band and worked it out, and it became a tradition at the 500. And just a gracious man, and my wife and I and a photographer, Matt Wilkening, went over and spent several days at his property in Maui, and I would just never forget how gracious he was to us, and to the point where we'd had to tell him, hey, look, we've been in your hair for 3 days. We're going to leave now. You need to have some peace and quiet with us, being in your business. So, again, I'm just heartbroken today that Jim Nabors has passed away.
You always enjoyed telling us stories about your visits with Jim in Hawaii at his home, seeing his house and some of the treasures that he had around his house, and this beautiful, spectacular view that he had of the Pacific Ocean. Let our viewers know a little bit about what it was like for Jim to be with Jim and to have that friendship with him there.
Well, he had two places. He has a place on Diamond Head and beautiful property. You open up the family room, just opens up. It's all glass, and you can overlook the ocean. And that's where he spent most of his time. And then he had a macadamia nut farm over in Maui on the road to Hana, if anybody's ever been that way. And that was his escape. He loved to go there because people didn't really know who he was or care who he was. He just kind of fit into the area there. But just a gracious man. I used to have phone conversations with him during the holidays. We'd always call and chat and just catch up and talk about our visits in May. And he was just a fun guy to be around, and we'll cherish all those memories. His house was amazing, Scott. You could walk through his house, and he had just treasures from just being at the White House with President Reagan, or being at the Reagan's house, or a picture with Elvis, who lived down the street from him, or Michael Jackson was a neighbor of his, and, conversations about Michael, and stories about Marilyn Monroe. I mean, he was one of the old-time stars from Hollywood who made contacts, and people just loved him. They really ran to be around him and to hang out with him.
It's such a sad day to learn of the death of Jim Nabors, dead today at the age of 87. Our Sports Director Dave Calabro has been on the phone with us, remembering all the many times that he has interviewed Jim, both here in Indianapolis during the month of May and at his homes in Hawaii. Jim Nabors, obviously. Gomer Pyle, he'd always end interviews with golly, didn't he, Dave?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, he was laughing about that. He always talked about he needed to charge a fee for that. Said he'd be a bazillionaire if he got paid every time he said golly. And, you know, he just was just a simple guy. You know, that's what people always ask me what kind of guy he was. Just a really simple guy. I mean, that's why I think he always clicked with Indiana people. He never put on airs, always a humble guy, and just a remarkable talent, incredible voice. And just a great gentleman we lost today.
Yeah, we sure did. Dave Calabro, thanks for spending some time talking about your friend, Jim Nabors. Thank you so much. We'll continue our coverage on WTHR.com.